16 years ago, 4 coordinated terror attacks in central London killed 52 people and injured hundreds more. A man who was on the same tube carriage as one of the suicide bombers tells NTD's Werrell what happened.
We now come to the leader of the opposition.
The Prime Minister and the Labour leader Keir Starmer remember the victims of the 7/7 London bombings 16 years on.
Speaker, today marks the 16th anniversary of the 7/7 London bombings. We remember the 52 innocent people who lost their lives and those who were injured, and pay tribute to the city's emergency services for their heroic response.
On the 7th of July 2005, 4 suicide bombers attacked central London during the rush hour. 52 people died and more than 700 people were injured. Bill Mann, who was on the same carriage as one of the suicide bombers, recalls the day. So can you tell me what happened 16 years ago? You were on the tube when the 7/7 bombings happened.
Well, my first memory, I was on the Circle Line train on my way into work that morning, and I was sort of sitting down. Like most people, I was lost in my thoughts, thinking about the day ahead. And my first recollection was I found myself flying through the air. I mean, the bomb blast had basically blown me out of my seat, and I was flying through the air. All the debris from the bomb, I didn't know it was a bomb at the time, but all the debris, there was burning embers, flying past my eyes. And I thought, is this it? Is this where it all ends? I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what caused it, and I didn't know whether I was going to survive. It was a case of, is this where it all comes to a sudden end? And then there was just a moment of sheer terror. There was a brief moment of absolute silence before the screaming kicked in, and there was I could distinctly remember 2 different types of scream. One from people that were sort of very seriously injured, and the others from people that were just panicking. I was lucky in the sense that I didn't have any serious injuries. I had blast damage to both my eardrums, and unfortunately that recovered. Lots of minor cuts from the fragments of glass that were flying through the air, but obviously recovered from all of those. From an emotional perspective, it did take me a while. It probably sort of took me a good sort of 2 or 3 years before I finally managed to adjust and accept and process what had happened. And funny enough, it was only when I got to speak to a survivor from a different terrorist bomb, the bombs in Bali that happened a few years earlier. I spoke to a survivor there, and it was only when I met someone who knew what I was talking about and instinctively just got it, that I felt like I could sort of turn a corner and move on.
And can you tell me more about what's happened in your life, like since you had that, since you went through that bombing experience, and you had more happen since then?
Yes, unfortunately I experienced another major tragedy. A few years after surviving the 7/7 bombs, I lost my wife to cancer when we had a young family at the time, and that was, to me, it felt like another major body blow. I just recovered from the bomb and felt like I was getting back on an even keel and life was moving forward, when the rug was pulled out from under me again, and it all sort of fell apart. And so the 2 events together were extremely difficult to deal with. Obviously, clearly the lowest point in my life. And since then, I've had to rebuild it and move forward, and that's taken a huge amount of strength. And my life today is completely different to what it was, because I have literally had to rebuild it. So, my business life, my career life is completely different. My family life is completely different. Fortunately, I have, remarried, have sort of, new relationships. So it's completely changed, compared to the person I was before I got on the train that morning. The experience of surviving the bomb made me realise, just what's important. And actually, the most precious resource we have is time. Because we've all got limited time here on this earth, and I wanted to make the most of it. I wanted to use it wisely, and that didn't mean, working long hours in an office, commuting 2 or 3 hours a day, not being around for my children. If I'd have been sitting 3 feet further to my right, I wouldn't be here today talking to you. So, it so easily could have ended. So life is precious and time is precious, and we have to make the most of it.
He says while he doesn't do anything in particular to commemorate the day, each anniversary he feels humbled that he survived. Jane Werrell, NTD News, London.